Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Level 30 podcast. I am your host, Tom, and I'm sitting alongside Kevin.
Hi.
Kevin, you have to say hi. Not
Hi.
really. Yeah,
Whispered hi.
Yeah, no, this is a podcast. And I'm sitting across from Joe.
Hello.
Let's see down there, Kevin. That's a good hello.
Scripted.
In this episode, we are going to make fun of Kevin. No, that's not true.
Oh, I will walk out.
Thank you guys for sitting down with me today as we're here to...
Just you?
Just me. Just the three of us.
Oh,
yeah.
all right.
And all our listeners and watchers. Got a few housekeeping things to get through first before we get into the news of the last few weeks. It's been almost a month since we put out an episode. So interestingly enough, there hasn't been anything that's terribly groundbreaking. So just lots of little stuff, but that's okay too.
It's been surprisingly quiet.
Surprisingly
for the Switch.
quiet,
That's been.
But I think it might be the calm before the storm and the holiday rush kicks in.
Good point.
So just a few housekeeping things. Please make sure that you are joining us on our YouTube channel, where we are our most active with video segments and reviews, and our community is pretty active there, so please join in and follow us. Take a look at our stuff. Let us know what you think. We're also on Twitter and Instagram at Level 30 Games. I also wanted to take a small second to, I guess not publicize, but I've been spending a lot of time on spending a lot of time on Twitch. If you've noticed, there hasn't been a live Level 30 segment in a while. I think July was the last one we did, the Splatoon. I think that was the last live stream we did.
Well, you did Link's Awakening twice by yourself.
I did, and that was through Twitch. And so what I'm getting at is that we are still going to continue to have some of the bigger, more group-oriented events on YouTube. But for casual day-to-day play, if I feel like getting behind a mic and in front of a webcam and playing a game a little bit more relaxed, it's probably going to be on Twitch, which you can then find at Level 30 Games on Twitch as well. So check that out. I always feel a little weird about talking about go check me out on Twitch in YouTube because they're competitors, and I think you can actually get strikes on your account for doing stuff like that. So going to take that opportunity to do that here. So check that out. It's a more relaxed environment. So let's get into some news. Kevin?
News.
There it is.
I didn't know that was
news that
your
surprises
job.
no one.
Yeah, so we thought we'd run through a few stories that we don't think anyone would be shocked and awed about. The first one that just came in over the wire. This is as hot off the press as you can get. Nintendo has announced that Switch in the United States has sold 15 million console sales. That includes... a little polite golf clap for that. Yeah.
North America.
North America. That includes the Lite as well, and we say that surprises no one because I don't think any of us ever thought the system would kind of taper off now.
No, absolutely. It very clear that the Lite's going to fly right off the shelves.
Yeah.
So
I'm thinking holiday time, that number is going to go up a couple million. I would think.
It's probably going to do pretty well. I don't think there's going to be any sales in the sense that I don't think they're going to take any money off the Switch Lite. It's way too new to take any money off.
Oh, yeah. No.
But there's going to be some fantastic bundles.
There's already been Target and Amazon did $25 gift cards recently already.
And I actually saw, I think it was Best Buy had the OG Switch for $25 off MSRP, which was interesting. I guess they're just trying to clear those out to make way for the new model, the red box model.
Yeah, once that SKU goes stale, people are going to be looking for the new ones.
Right. So yeah, I think the Lite's going to be big over Black Friday, as I feel the $199 price tag is where your PS4s and Xbox Ones are going to be. I don't think they're going to bundle anything personally.
You don't?
I'd be
Not
very
officially.
I'd be very surprised if they had
You mean over Black Friday? You don't see any bundles coming?
Yeah, because Nintendo typically they'll put out Black Friday hardware. I remember the 3DS bundles that came out that were bundled with Super Mario Land.
There's a Lite model that's not out yet.
Well, the Pokemon
one.
Yeah, but I'd imagine those are heavily pre-ordered and spoken for, and they probably won't get a second shipment of those, as some of those consoles don't. So yeah, we're not surprised by that number at all, and it's going to go up by the end of the year. I don't know what their forecast is. Usually their fiscal quarter or year ends the end of March.
March, yeah.
So we'll see what that looks like in January through March as our last quarter approaches. In news that surprises no one, Blizzard said Overwatch will not ship on a cartridge. The people were surprised by this. I don't know why. It just seems to be standard fare for a lot of these ports, but also a game that is heavily reliant on updates and is always online anyhow.
Yeah, it kind of seems silly to put it on a cartridge.
Yeah,
I couldn't understand why. Like you said, it revolves very heavily around updates. So Why? It's also a game that's surprisingly easy to jump in and out of very quickly.
Right.
Because you can jump in, play 2 really quick matches, and get right
then
out.
bounce out.
So it'd be cool to just like you don't have to switch the cartridge because plus I mean honestly there's like there's the convenience factor is what I'm talking about, but that's there because you can jump right in without having to change your cartridge, and people are more likely to play it.
Yeah, at least for a round or two. Hey, I got
Yeah.
20 minutes to kill. That's a round. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that how
Finally,
long a round takes to play? I haven't played
it depends. I guess it depends.
Roughly.
Yeah,
Depends
it's
how good your team is.
yeah, and there's
without getting too
different
much into
there's
it,
different
yeah.
game modes and everything too,
Okay.
so it does vary.
So continuing and lastly with news that surprises no one, CD Projekt Red, I want to make sure I got that in the right order, has come out publicly and said that Cyberpunk 2077 is, quote, probably not possible on Switch. Again, I feel like that just kind of makes sense given the scope of that game and the spectacle of the game. Now, Joe's ready to jump in,
I was gonna say, well, figure this. I mean, they did eventually put Witcher 3 on Switch,
which released this week.
but they toned that down so much, like the graphics and everything and the resolution. Now, Cyberpunk is supposed to be what 2-3 times the size of The Witcher 3.
If not bigger.
So if they had to downscale The Witcher 3 that much to get it on Switch, then how were they going to get Cyberpunk on Switch? It doesn't seem conducive to the Switch, but honestly, I mean, the Switch is made for a different kind of game, in my opinion, and I just don't see I never even considered the possibility that Cyberpunk might actually be on the
I didn't
Switch.
either.
No.
Yeah,
When
it
they
just-
revealed that and I saw that, I was like, that's not coming to Switch.
No, absolutely not.
And by the time it does, I will probably have already played it on another system
Probably.
because it's coming out next year.
Oh, I hope so. I can see it getting delayed.
I think it. I don't know. I think March. I don't remember. I think the release date's out there. I don't have it in
Yeah,
my
it
notes,
is.
but yeah. So that's our news that surprises no one. Moving
New
on.
segment.
Yeah,
I like this one. It moves quickly.
Yeah,
This is
no,
good.
that one moves quickly
Yeah.
because I did want to spend a little bit of time. And Kevin, you could maybe speak to this a little bit based on your secondhand experience with this game. But Mario Kart Mobile
Oh, yeah.
has come out as the free to start. We'll go with that. It's not. I think free to play as a term is changing, but free to
Yeah.
start mobile game.
That's like the worst way to advertise a game. Well, it's free to start. I mean, if you want to download it and put like 20 minutes into it, yeah, it's totally free.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, it can perpetually be free as long as you don't get into any of the crazy, ridiculously
Fun
priced
things?
gotcha
Did you
items.
say fun things?
Fun things.
Fun
Yeah.
things. So in theory, you can go without having to put money into it, but obviously the
fair.
design of this game as a
Yeah.
free to play or free to start game is to
I mean,
Monetize
Fortnite
it. Yeah.
was free to play, and right?
Yeah.
And like people spend tons of money on that game.
yes, but my understanding, and I don't play Fortnite, is that that's entirely cosmetic. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
This is not. This is
right.
not.
So when you need to buy coins or rupees or to unlock characters that
yeah.
could play better, which
Or
then hinder
carts,
you.
things like
Yeah.
that.
And all that stuff's randomized too. So you can say, all right,
Yeah.
I'm going to put in $2 to buy a pack of rubies that allows me to unlock a character or a car part. Or there was one other thing that's at random.
Yeah.
You still don't know what you're getting.
Yeah.
And I guess that's fair, but
That's how they get you.
well, that's the hook,
That's the
right?
hook.
Is that I didn't get what I wanted. Okay, $2
Yep.
more dollars, $2 more dollars.
Mhm.
And I think there was an
$2
article that said there's like some guarantees they do based on events
Yeah.
to get certain characters, but I think they said to play Mario costs like $20.
Really?
Yeah,
Crazy.
or I could just play any other Mario Kart game that just comes with Mario. Like
You mean
It-
Mario Run? Or you mean Mario within the game of Mario Kart?
no, like to play as Mario within Mario Kart.
On the phone.
Yeah,
Costs $20?
Yeah,
Well,
that's what the article said. I didn't verify it for myself
Yeah.
because realistically, I played for 30 seconds and was like, I don't have any interest in coming back to this. The whole point of the Switch is to be portable. Why would I play this on my phone?
Well, that was the argument I always made, and I referenced Kevin playing or experiencing the secondhand because for at least for a good 2 or 3 days, it was the talk of the school as far as the kids being
Kids still
so
ask
into
me,
it.
like, do you play it? And I'm like, yeah, and it's garbage. I'm like, I played it for maybe 10 minutes, and I could play Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on my Switch.
Well, that's
play
what
a
I
real
said.
Mario
They're like,
Kart
well, you can
game."
play Mario Kart on the go, and I just hold up my Switch and I
Yeah.
look at them and go, but I have Mario Kart on the
Mhm.
go.
Yeah.
And it's the better version.
And you can't. Do they even set it? I don't know because I don't care about it because I'm not looking at it. But I don't even think like we can't play each other.
No,
It's like
multiplayer
fake
is not
CPUs or
available
something.
yet.
Yeah.
What?
But it will be either through an
Yeah.
update later. And
That's how little
so-
I played. I didn't even know that you couldn't play multiplayer on a
Well-
device that's literally connected to everyone else's device.
Yes, and so there were some
Incredible.
some tests done. I believe it was at IGN when they're tinkering with the game. So like mid race, they would switch their phone to airplane mode, which would in theory cut off the signal, but they were able to continue finishing the races, and the game actually acknowledged their placement. So it wasn't so they kind of figured out that all those bots, those names are kind of just randomly generated.
Yeah,
And
I read the same thing.
Because even like I did the first cup, and I'm like, all right, I've played this 0 times, but I come in first place every time with almost no challenge. So I guess it just showed they want you to get into it a little bit more.
I think so, because
Yeah.
the first race that I did, it was like, I'm doing horrible. Like, I almost spun completely around on, like, every turn, and then still somehow ended up in first.
Yeah.
Can we talk? My biggest gripe with it was the controls, like how you play. It just seemed so weird to me.
I don't really know how else you could do it, though, without adding, like, a D-pad or
But
something
even like
onto the...
I thought like the gyro would be like it's if you turn a little bit, it's like.
I didn't even use the gyro.
I
was
tried
using
both.
the
I didn't even
touch.
know it was an option. Does it tell you in the beginning?
I don't know.
No,
But
I don't think it does.
not in the beginning.
Okay.
I don't think because I went in and looked for settings. I was like, I know there's another option because I saw it
But
spoken
it's
about
still
somewhere.
slightly accessible because I watched you play it for the first time, and you did the same exact thing I did, where you took
Spun around
one
completely?
turn trying to like drift, and you veered into the inside of the track, and then you took one hop again, and you're like, "Oh, I got this." And you were doing the thumb wiggle like you would with the joystick, so it translates well there.
Yeah.
and it looks pretty. Like
does
I think
look
it
pretty.
looks for
Yeah.
a mobile game. I think it looks kind of nice.
Visually, it looks great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
but
I
my
think it captures the spirit.
My first 2 characters I was very unhappy with, and that alone was like, oh, I don't want to play this anymore. Give me
Well, I got
Give me
Toadette,
Shy Guy
too.
or give
Who
me
did
Death.
you get?
I got Toadette and Peach.
Okay.
No interest in playing as the pinkest characters in the entire Nintendo
I got
universe.
Toad.
Toadette is adorable. That's fine.
Mm.
Because
Is
our
Peach out in the
one of our
game?
listener questions came
No,
from
nobody
Kelly,
caught that?
who
Okay.
wants to know our thoughts on the game. I would say, Kelly, I don't think we like the game that much. And
No.
compared to the other
I don't like
options
it.
that are available, like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on the Switch, probably not gonna stick with Mario Kart Mobile.
No, it just seems silly. Honestly, any chance that I have to play a game where I can like sit down and play a game, I probably can bring my Switch with me. So I'll probably just do that.
Yep.
Mm.
Now, interestingly enough,
Fred.
instead of paying $1.99 at a time or more, I think there was like a $20 option or like
I think there's like different sets.
But they have a subscription service for this specific game, which I thought was really weird. So for $4.99 a month, you're entitled to like a few unlockables and I guess some rupees and things. But like, I've never seen a subscription service for a specific game before.
It's like Patreon for Mario Kart.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird. And I
That
don't know what their
scares
goal
me.
is that like keeping this, like, how are they going to keep it fresh for those that want to invest the $5 a month?
That really scares me, to be honest, for 2 reasons. One, that shows that,
lot of
that
money.
Nintendo like immediately put a ton of commitment into that because they're saying we expect people to subscribe to this. That's how much content we plan on putting into this. But on top of that, does that show the direction of gaming now?
I don't
That
know
there's
if
going
it
to be
does.
subscription services for individual games?
No, I think we're trending as a whole, and we've seen services like Xbox Game Pass and now the Apple Arcade or whatever that is, where that is a monthly fee, but there's certain games that are tethered to be included in that. Are pretty good values. I don't know what it looks like on the business end. I personally think this is Nintendo trying to figure out how the hell to appropriately monetize their mobile offerings, because they've done it differently kind of
Each
every
one.
time.
Yeah.
With varying degrees of success, right? They put out Mario Run, which was $10 and you got the entire game, and they said, okay, go have fun, this is it, we're not going to hound you for any other money. And
Which did terribly from what I understand.
I don't have the numbers in front of me. It didn't do terribly. I mean, as far as mobile
Not great.
offerings go, I think it pulled in almost 70 million. Whereas games like Fire Emblem, which is more of that gacha style, you can get some unlockables and stuff, is like closer to 500.
Yeah, that's what
That
I
one
that's
was
what I
the
heard
big
too.
one.
Yeah, and that's what I was gonna say. I mean, when it comes to like businesses and money making, like if you're making a lot of money off something, why fix what isn't broken? Like if don't get me wrong, if there's more money to be made, then absolutely they're gonna try and make more money. But if Fire Emblem is bringing in so much money for a relatively small game with that kind of style, why not stick to that? I mean, maybe the way they're doing it wouldn't translate well to Mario Kart, but like if the way they're doing it for Fire Emblem is really working that well, then why not just do it for for Mario Kart because it really did bring in a lot of money. That's surprising for Fire Emblem.
Yeah. Well, I think
For a
again, it's
mobile
the
game.
style of game, and it's actually not that bad a game. So I just pulled. I
I've
don't have
played
the
it a
most
couple
recent
times.
ones. This does include Dr. Mario World, which I'm pretty sure everyone has forgotten about.
What now?
Yeah. Fire Emblem, $591 million, which is huge.
that's a lot.
Yeah, that's
Dragalia
incredible.
Lost was $100 million, which was an original IP, so that's not bad. I played it for a little while; it was pretty good. Animal Crossing at 99, Super Mario Run at 72, and then at the time that this was posted, and I apologize, I don't have a source here, but Dr. Mario World, $790,000. But I think that might have been
wow.
after like
Oh my
2
gosh.
days, and I don't know where the
True.
Mario Kart numbers are. We'll see what that looks like probably in a month or so.
I gotta say, I'd like to see those numbers compared to like all of Square Enix's games because they have so many Final Fantasy mobile games that I can't keep track of all of them, and I just want to know, like, are they making money on all these individually? Like, are they making a ton of money, or is Nintendo just like immediately pummeling them with their first entrance into the mobile market?
No, I'm sure they're making money because their games
It's like
release
47.
at full retail price. Like you can, I could buy Final Fantasy VIII on my phone, and it's like $29.99. You're like, well, that's Square Enix for you.
Yeah.
So Kelly, to answer your question and to conclude our thoughts on Mario Kart Mobile, I mean, not going to stick with it. So if
Play
you
on
enjoy,
that.
enjoy. Very cool.
Play
But
Mario
not,
Kart on that.
yeah,
Exactly.
not for us.
How's your
Speaking
goose
of
doing?
revisiting some classics, there's a new Brain Age announced for Switch, which initially was Japan. It's now Japan and Europe, so I feel like it's only a matter of time before it's Japan and Europe and North America.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on just that announcement? One, it wasn't like
It was
a
just
spectacle.
like-
It was just like, oh yeah, we're doing this.
Yeah.
But do you have any thoughts on that game or that series of games as a whole?
I know it did really well on the DS back in the day.
Did you play it on the DS?
I did not, but I played Big Brain Academy on the Wii,
Okay.
and I loved that game. That was fun.
So what was was there a difference between that? It was obviously like in the
There-
same
It was in the same
area,
genre,
yeah.
I'd say.
So what was the hook on that one?
The presentation was different. Big Brain Academy was more like casual fun-ish.
Okay.
And I think I had multiplayer. I mean, I haven't played it since the Wii was out. Breaking things.
So is the game honest? So for somebody who's never played Brain Age, is the game actually supposed to be fun, or is it supposed to be
I
just
think
brain
it's
games that
more-
are like just kind of I don't want to say addicting,
Like
but like, I guess
interactive.
catchy, like
Yeah.
games
It
that you
wasn't
want to
even
continue
really
playing.
addicting. I think I don't know.
The point was to keep your brain
Yeah.
going.
Which is
Yes.
funny because
It was targeted
supposedly
to-
those things don't actually like brain games don't actually do anything for your brain.
Shh. Joe.
I'm just-
Nintendo ninjas are gonna come to you.
No, they won't. They don't exist here.
If you want to be smarter, play an instrument. That's all I'm saying.
Or read a book.
And there's-
So yeah, I don't know how
like,
accurate.
read books, all of you.
Yeah, I don't know how accurate the brain training part actually is.
But at this point, you just put it into the game name, and it sounds like, oh, this is supposed to help keep my brain moving and occupied, and maybe it does work for some people
some
to the extent,
people.
It's
at
also,
least to the
it's
extent
also
that they want it
entertainment,
to.
Really.
Yeah, which is
That's all it
fine.
is.
But that's
A
what
lot
I'm
of it
saying.
was
Like,
math.
is it?
There was a lot of math in there. I remember
Yeah.
having to do like
Some people
I could
like
use
addition
that.
and multiplication really quickly because they timed you as
Yeah.
well.
It sounds
So there's
stressful.
like some cool puzzly things to it.
Right?
And the whole thing behind the game was that 10 minutes a day, like you're not supposed to play it for hours on end. This was
Yeah.
play it in the morning and maybe that's it. But this came out at a time when the DS sales wise, exploded. This console was
Mhm.
everywhere and it was reaching a market that
Didn't
for the first time
exist.
ever never really played games
Yeah.
because it was so accessible. And so you have this kind of non-game game coming out with what will hopefully be similar to the Switch, where it's just there's millions of people that have this thing that aren't going to buy even Mario or Mario Kart, but will pick up Brain Age and Nintendogs and things that are a little bit more low key and kind of
Just say what you're trying to say. Casual gamers.
I was gonna go with chill, but casual.
Chill.
I mean, but that's true though. And they made. I mean, Brain Age, the first 2 games in the series, sold 33 million.
You can't say
units.
they're casual gamers though, because those people that bought Brain Age weren't gamers. A lot of them. It was like,
But that's kind of what makes them
Moms,
So
casual
that's what
Yeah.
makes them
gamers.
gamers.
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
They have that DS on the
would
shelf
they be
with
oh,
like
no,
4
wait, never mind.
games.
I'll say would they be level 30 gamers, but if they're over 30,
Well, that's all it
Are
takes.
they?
It doesn't take much.
Well,
You
I
can be
think that
casual and still be level 30 gamer.
say if we want to get into what a level 30 gamer is, what a level 30 gamer is to me is somebody who's actually looking to be a gamer, and I don't think the people who are buying those games are looking to be a
No.
gamer. They're just like the DS with Brain Age in it is no different than like a little pocket game with an LCD screen and 2 AAA batteries
Right.
to them.
But it's
Now a
also,
lot of that stuff is
as
on
as a
here, though.
game, less intimidating. So
Yeah.
imagine someone who's not a gamer but owns a DS going into GameStop and looking around going like, okay, I'm totally out of my element here. I just want that math Sudoku game. Right? Like those are the people that they want to draw in. And I'm hoping it does. I don't know how I feel about holding the Switch vertically. As I saw one of the like stills of the, I guess the ad or whatever, and he's holding it like
Yeah.
like this, and I'm like, I don't like that because the game does ship with a stylus as well. So like it doesn't. I mean, I have big hands, so it's probably fairly comfortable. But like, I don't like the idea.
Not really,
of,
no.
No.
But
Because
if you take the
too,
Joy-Cons
what if you
off,
hit the buttons and stuff?
I'd imagine it's
I
going to
mean-
be mostly touchscreen focused.
Yeah, I think they might be disabled. I mean, this doesn't feel that great. I gotta say though, like the Switch feels ridiculously heavy when you hold it by the Joy-Cons. It really does. Like after like a extended gameplay session of me draining my entire battery into Zelda, it gets pretty heavy. Holding it like this is oddly less heavy. It's strange.
Well, I think
Center
it's
of
I think because
mass.
you're not
Yeah, right,
stressing
right,
the
yeah.
joints.
distributed better. But yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. I'm excited it's coming as just like an option for those that want to get
Yeah.
into this and,
Mm-hmm.
and do. Maybe there'll be like a downloadable version of it that doesn't come
demo
with a
or something.
stylus, or you get to sample it a little bit. I'd be curious to see what that looks like on a day-to-day basis for people like us that would probably pass
Oh
immediately.
yeah, I'm not
but
getting it.
the Sudoku in the first ones were really good. That touchscreen made it awesome.
Hmm.
So I just love doing that.
You know how many Sudoku apps there are for your phone though?
I got into Picross.
Then again, now I'm
Picross
going
is really
back to
good,
the
too.
other side of the argument where I just said, "Oh, I would probably bring my Switch." Now I'd probably just bring my phone.
Yeah, well,
I'm
for,
a
and for
hypocrite,
stuff like that, I
guys.
think you can.
Yeah,
But
that's fair.
yeah, so that's coming. If you're interested, awesome. And if not, then
Awesome.
get it for your mom. So Pokemon Sword and Shield is. Can we believe this? Actually, it's almost
a
it's
month?
less than a month away now.
This is coming out the 19th.
I believe the 15th. Kevin's going to double check that number that we probably should know. But there's been some Pokemon Sword and Shield news over the last few weeks. Two of the big ones, I guess, were the announcement.
right,
of
15th.
15th. There
Is
you
it
go.
roughly 7 minutes worth of news for the last 2
7
weeks?
minutes of actual Pokemon reveals in a 24-hour live stream that obviously was a publicity thing, but people watched, and I heard like some of the Reddit chatter was really cool. That not that people planned a party around it, but like they had gatherings, and as they were just kind of like had it on in the background, it was chilling in the forest, and they would like go about their business and just be gabbing and talking and sharing stories about Pokemon and stuff, and then there would be like a little rustle and a creature would come out, and everyone would
Everybody
stop and
freak out.
pay attention, and it's like, oh, okay, cool, it's Pikachu. That's not exciting. But then everyone lost their minds when Ponyta
Ponyta.
showed up in all her unicorn-like glory.
The things that people put together to really look at, because when Ponyta came out, I don't think the Ponyta came all the way out and was like, this is what I look like and this is what the Galarian form of Ponyta was.
Yeah,
It was like
It was like
teases,
almost
right?
like a
Until the end?
silhouette. Like it was just like
no, there were some stills from it, but I think it was meant to be like in its natural environment, so it wasn't
Yeah.
on display. It was just kind of like poking around.
and then got scared and
Brazen.
run off. But people put it together and they were like, this is what Ponyta looks like. And somebody posted an image and they were like, my take on Galarian Ponyta. Like, this is exactly what it looks like now. This is insane.
Yeah, no, Pokemon fans are kind of nuts like that, and in a
Yeah.
really cool way. Because I mean, like they get attached to certain Pokemon, and why wouldn't they? And everyone has their favorite, and there's so many, right? I think they did
Yeah.
that poll where they said, okay, we want you to pick your favorite Pokemon, and I think out of all like 800, there were only 4 that got 0 votes. I don't recall what they were, but that's still like. There's someone out there for everyone, and that includes a
a lot of
Pokemon for
Pokemon.
you.
It's a lot of Pokemon.
So Ponyta is going to be the Shield exclusive. Then we had a evolved form of Farfetch'd. That's a Sword exclusive called Surfetch'd.
Which I'm
And he's-
mildly disappointed
he's
by
got a
since
bigger-
Farfetch'd is one of my
Bigger
favorites.
plant.
Yeah. He's just awkward looking.
IGN on I think it was Instagram, like did a joke post where it had Surfetched holding the, I guess, is it still a leak?
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
Or an
But you
onion.
had to
guess
you had
so.
to scroll like 6 pages and it made it like super long, and I was just like, this is funny. It was like the day after the reveal or the day of.
one of those things where like the memes surrounding it are
Yeah.
funnier than the actual thing we're memeing.
Right.
And,
And
yeah.
that's the I guess that's the publicity that they wanted. I don't know. Yeah, they didn't really do it for me. I will say I don't tend to get a version based on the exclusives. I do think Ponyta's a little bit cooler than Surfetched, but
No, I
I
agree.
don't want Shield because I think the legendary looks bad. Actually, they both look uninspired and
I
not that
agree.
great, but
They do look surprisingly uninspired, right? Like the
Yeah.
one with the
They
sword is
look
just like, well,
like-
he's got a sword, and the
Yeah.
one with the shield looks like a Power Rangers.
I was gonna
So
say
Power
they look like
Rangers
a power. They
enemy?
look
like,
yeah, or
it
like
looks like
a
one of the Zords. Like,
yeah.
like a Evangelion. Like they just kind of look like I'm waiting for them to like lay down
the
and then the
foot-
head to come up and like someone to walk out like they were driving it as a vehicle.
I can see that.
I hope not.
Guess
What
we
if
weren't
that's
here to
not their
bash
full?
Pokemon, though.
What if they change?
I don't
Like,
think
what
they'll
if that's not
change.
their?
I mean, it's the box art. They just shipped the Game Informer magazine with them on the cover. I think they're pretty committed a month out that yeah, they're gonna look like this. I just think from the get go.
No, I mean like in the game, like gameplay wise. What if they like have a different form or something?
Like an evolution.
Not
do
necessarily
legendaries
evolution.
have evolutions? I
Usually
don't
not.
actually
Not that I know of, no.
No.
because I don't think I've ever played a game long enough to get legendaries.
You know, I don't think they have any evolved forms. Not that I
Think so.
recall. I'm one of those very typical people where I got really into Pokemon when it came out because I was like 8, got super heavy into it, and then was like, oh, I'm too old for Pokemon. And then I hit like my early 20s, and I was like, Pokemon's the greatest thing to ever happen. So I'm a little detached from a couple generations in the middle
I
there.
think that's the exact same trajectory that I went on because I had Pokemon Blue,
Mhm.
and then I was like, "This is awesome," and then I had Pearl because it was the first one on the DS, so I
Yes.
missed a lot on the Game Boy Advance,
Oh yeah, you did.
and then
Went from blue to pearl.
yeah,
Wow.
and then from
Y-
Pearl
You missed a ton. Wow, you missed gold and
to-
silver.
How did you? Yeah.
I missed a lot, and then I went from Pearl to Black and White, and then Black and White.
Black and White were
to
okay.
X because that was the first one on the 3DS,
Mm-hmm.
and then I had what was the last one? Pokemon Sun.
Sun and Moon. Well,
Sun.
Sun and Moon, and then Ultra Sun and Moon, and then there was a Ruby Sapphire
Which
remake,
was a remake.
which
I
I heard
didn't do
were
those,
really good.
But I did Sun, and I still didn't get that far in it. So I skip around. I don't know them all. I'm partial to the 151 because that's what I grew up
Gold and
with.
Silver, Tom. I
and-
can't believe you didn't play Gold and Silver.
I'm so sorry, but I will never
should be.
play Gold and Silver.
Why?
Because all right,
There,
They were
there are remakes
so
on
good.
DS, and they are very good
Yes,
as well.
they are.
all right, but here's
Like I would replay that remake before I play Pokemon Sword and Shield because I am not sold on these.
But you also have a memory of playing that game and really
Yes,
enjoying it.
I do.
That's fair, and it's also for us. We're people who went from Generation 1 to Generation 2,
Mhm.
whereas you skipped all the way around and went back to Generation 2, so you're not going to have that natural progression.
Right.
Right.
Now I'm sure
Which is
some of the
depressing to me. I'm so
I know.
sorry.
I'm sorry.
No,
for you.
I
Oh my
think-
gosh.
I'm jealous in the sense that there are a lot more familiar Pokemon that you guys know that I don't.
But
and
again, I
think
lost
I'm-
a lot in the middle. I came back somewhere around the ice cream cone, and that just kind of hurt.
Ooh, yeah. Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Mm.
How about the key ring? That was my other favorite.
Yeah,
one was
that's
just
a
like a
weird one.
bunch of keys.
Isn't
on
that a
it.
ghost
Oh my god,
Pokemon?
you're right.
I don't know.
There's also
So-
a bell.
Weird.
Yes,
Yeah.
and that's
And a
where
chandelier.
that's where some of my issues with the series. Like for the people that really get into it, and I was talking to a GameStop manager years ago, and he was talking about how he was going to catch all 700 and whatever at the time, and
Gosh.
he had to wait for certain times of the day to one to appear so he can catch it and breed it with another. And I'm just like, I don't
have that
want to
time.
do that.
Yeah.
Like,
So is that what you get when you manage a GameStop? Free time?
I guess so, because he got
No.
fired.
Great.
They don't have
Um,
free time.
So here, we'll run through a few of the other things, and then we'll get to the Pokemon-related user question from one of our YouTube subscribers. The map was leaked.
Was that Kurokuro or Famitsu magazine?
I don't remember where it came from, but the speculation now is based on what they saw is that the world itself is the largest it's been in any Pokemon game, which is really great. But we also know that there are less Pokemon.
So, so we're going to see the same Pokemon in many different areas.
Well, I had some questions, and I wrote this before a lot of the actual stuff that came out today. My concern is that we're going to have a bigger world, but less new, fresh Pokemon to run into. And it kind of is, and I hate to even draw the comparison, but it was very reminiscent for me of, okay, Breath of the Wild is great, but there's so much emptiness. And again, by design, because it kind of fit the story. But it didn't always make point A to point B travel the most interesting.
No, because there is a lot of empty space, like you said, and there's also a lot of the same enemies over and over again.
Well, there's
Like
only a
there-
few basic ones in that
Yeah.
game, so I don't know what that's going to mean for this. But there were previews that were actually being published through the afternoon, so I was excited to come across and read some of those this morning to give some insight to some of the things that I had some questions on, and just to kind of see what had changed because the previews have been based on the first 90 minutes of the game. And so it looks like, for the most part, it's still a little tutorial heavy in the beginning,
Mm,
as Pokemon games tend to basically presume that this is the first time you've ever played a Pokemon game,
yeah.
which I don't think is insulting. I just wish they kind of gave an option to skip all that.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, their Pokemon's been going on for so long that they kind of need to do that because yeah, there's people like us who kind of grew up with it and know how the game goes all the time, but also there's they're constantly bringing in new fans because it's been going on for literally generations. So they do kind of need to pander a little bit. And to be completely honest, if you ever played a game where they don't give you a tutorial, even if you played the game before it, it's still a little jarring to get back into it.
Oh, I
You're
can
like,
talk about
oh,
that
the
a little
game
bit later
just
because I
started.
experienced that last night. Yeah, I just still wish there were some options to even through like the cutscenes or the dialogue to just kind of skip.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or
Like
like expedite it.
yeah,
but it tends to be
kind of.
story oriented too.
Yeah, but
The-
the
the
story setups are always
tutorial.
the same, right? Like you always
Oh,
you're in
every
your
single
home
time,
and you
yeah.
have to say goodbye to your mom, and you meet your rival and you battle, and then you go out and.
But where do you
know.
want to skip to? Like, do you want to just select your Pokemon and jump to the very,
Like
jump to when
roaming?
you're leaving the
Yeah,
town?
I guess that's a fair. Well, maybe they just need to shake that formula up and have something different,
Ah,
for
but
the
it
starting
works.
position. I know it's not how it works. And they're going to sell 1 million copies, and it won't matter because
There's
they
some
made 1 million
more
copies.
There, yeah.
Um,
It's gonna sell no matter what.
Of course, it's got
So-
Pokemon on the name.
Mm-hmm.
Wild encounters are still a thing, and this was a question that came up after Pokemon Let's Go. After a lot of people were, I don't even know, initially skeptical, but eventually very excited that Pokemon were in the overworld, that you can kind of approach them and say, I'm going to capture you, or, oh no, I already have 8,000 Zubats. I'm going to run around you.
There's the outrageously scary, what is it, Machoke, that like chases somebody in one of the demos.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like he sees you, and I'm pretty sure he like comes after you. But Machoke's like pretty scary looking. But now you see him in the overworld, and he's like moving, and he's got an actual like movable model, and it's kind of frightening. It's like I would run as fast as I could from that. There's no battling that thing. I mean, in real life, not
Oh,
the
in real
game. I
life.
would destroy it in
And
the
I'm
game.
sure there's like an accurate height that they have too. He's probably like 9'2", but doesn't look that way in the game. So yeah, he'd be kind of towering. So the wild encounters are still going to be there. There are some enemy or Pokemon visible on the map, and then some appear as like an exclamation point in the tall grass.
I was gonna
When-
ask, is that in the grass?
Yeah. so
Does that
letting you
seem
know-
weird to you that you can choose some and others just like ambush you?
I don't know. I have a feeling the ones that you can see are gonna end up just making it easier to avoid. But it still gives you the kind of hunt and peck of, okay, instead of going in the grass and kind of wandering in circles, just waiting for something to happen, at least there are targeted sections that you can kind of go to and say, all right, I don't know what is going to show up, but there's going to be something, and hopefully it's
Yeah.
something I don't have. Because if so, then, all right, I mean, and maybe it's going to let you know that, hey, here's a pocket of Rattatas, because the beginning of the game is always Rattatas and grass Pokemon. And then there's an exclamation point. So you're probably like, well, that's probably something that's not a Rattata. So there you go. Now you've got Pidgey.
I
'cause
would say it's going to be a Pidgey. It will be a
Sandshrew,
Pidgey.
or the occasional rare Pikachu in the beginning. Doesn't happen too often. So that's kind of cool. I think that's a nice balance of kind of the random encounters
Yeah.
and surprise of who you're going to get. Because as soon as that screen does the like, you're like, who am I getting? You wait for that silhouette to come out, and then you get that disappointment when it's the same thing you've caught at the beginning of the game.
I think if anything, that's the part they need to expedite. Me just sitting there and waiting for the screen to darken and know like
It's probably faster now, though. It's probably like,
I hope so, because that's like why I don't play Final Fantasy and stuff anymore. Like, who really has the time to just sit there and wait for Pokemon to appear? Can I just jump into the battle?
No, you can't. There
That's
needs to be some
Entitled,
flourish to it.
entitled.
Yeah, that's fair. It's an
Um,
irrelevant point anyway.
So
Moving
you're
on.
also introduced early in the game to what's referred to as the wild area, and this is more of your free roaming,
I
not
thought that's what
static
you were just
camera.
talking about.
No.
No,
it
it's
was
just the game in general.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, they
Uh,
were comparing it to the Safari Zone, right?
Yeah.
But like on a
kind of, but
much
obviously-
larger
Yeah.
scale. And I guess
Right.
you can take more than like 250 steps before they just kick you out.
Yeah. So this is the wild area. Is you're going to be able to battle other players. You can do your max raids, and there's stores to buy stuff. You can access your PC, which is super exciting because you're not tethered to having to make changes then in a Poke Center. as that was always kind of aggravating. He literally carries a Pokedex, which is a computer, but cannot access his Pokemon. I never figured that. That didn't make sense to me.
I can't even come up with a technical reason.
Yeah, yeah, right.
now.
I mean, it's probably, I don't know. Maybe it's a strategy thing. They just wanted to kind of, I have no idea. I don't know. But free camera movement, which looks really, really nice, giving you some freedom of what you see and where you move and stuff. There was a 10 minutes of gameplay that came out today as well from a newer build, and it did show some graphical improvements.
That's good.
Like a lot of the town areas were actually very pretty, and the character models look great. Even the trees in one of the battles, I'm like, oh, it's not that weird. Like we're all moving like different parts. I mean, it looked really nice. But that wild area looked really sparse at times, like a lot of open nothing with not a lot of detail. So I don't know where the last month of a development cycle looks like as far as pushing that extra stuff out. But
I feel like at that point
hopefully-
you're probably on like bug fixes and stuff when you're in the last month. I
Probably.
mean, realistically, they should be gold soon
Yeah.
if they're in the last month because they have to make sure they're gold and they have to compile, which is going to take some time for a game of that scale, of any scale now, and then they have to push it to manufacturing, which I'm sure is going to take some time.
yeah, no, that's a valid point.
I think Borderlands went gold a month.
It's usually
before.
like a month or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So the gameplay that came out today is out there. Go look at it. I think it was a little reassuring to see it look a little bit better than it did during the E3 demo.
But they're not doing a whole lot. At least they're not coming out to say that they're doing a whole lot to like appease all of the people who were really upset about the way the game was starting to turn out, like taking all the Pokemon out, and they're not saying like, "Hey, we did graphical improvements." But I guess a company of that size isn't going to really do that. But I feel like none of the expectations have changed.
Well, I also feel that it's not game freak like it's not their MO to actually utilize new hardware immediately.
Yeah.
So like
They're also. Are they a gigantic developer?
Game Freak?
Yeah.
They only have like 3 IPs or something.
They have like 2
well, they keep their
teams.
development teams small. They're
Yeah.
not very
Yeah.
big, which is why they take their time. But even so, when the 3DS came out, and everyone's like, "Oh man, can't wait for the next Pokemon to jump to this," they said, "Here's Black and White," and they were like, "Oh, okay, that's cool." And then some years went on, and they're like, "Oh my God, new Pokemon's coming. Here's Black and White too." And at this point, like the DS was kind of like, why are you still putting games on that thing? Kind of like the 3DS is now. And so it took even a few games on the old hardware for them to finally say, all right, we're going to come to the 3DS. And then X
Yeah.
and Y kind of reinvented what is really the modern style and look of it that the remakes have had, Sun and Moon have had, and the one for Switch has. So I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't get drastically different. A few
Art
years from
style
now.
wise, I think they're consistent with it,
Yeah.
especially the Pokemon models.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because
Like
they've reused them from game to game.
Yeah, which was a
Right.
big
Sticking point with people.
Yeah,
I'm
some
okay
people
with it.
I'm okay with it as long as the animations are cool.
I think the reason people were so mad about them using the same models over and over again is that they've proven that they do that and that they can do that. So why didn't they do that when they like why didn't they do that for
all
this
the
game?
Pokemon in
Yeah,
there?
like we know that they do that, and that's how they put all the Pokemon in the other games. So if they took that, like if they do that, why didn't they just run with it and do it for the Switch?
There's got to be a.
because there's other gimmicks in this game.
I personally think the reason is they spread themselves too thin with Little Town Hero.
Oh,
Maybe.
I mean,
think they had-
That's a.
They didn't have enough team to split between the two, so they're like, well, we got to cut something. Well, there's like 240 billion Pokemon, so let's take 20% of them out or something.
I don't know. I can see the merit behind that conclusion, but at the same time, Little Town Hero is a digital only game. It's semi budget price. Like I looked at it's $24.99 because I was interested in it. So like I don't feel that they would pull from Pokemon to develop like a second tier game, and that's not to disrespect Little Town Hero. It looks really cool. I don't know. I think at some point they said, well, clearly we're going to introduce new Pokemon in this version. We at some point we're going to have to say, okay, they're not all going to make it, and I think maybe going to a new console is the right time for them to just say, all right, listen, fans of Pokemon, we're not going to perpetually put. What happens in 10 years then when you've got 1,500? They're not going to be in one game. So
I don't disagree with trimming the fat. Absolutely. I think there's a lot of Pokemon that don't really need to be there. But, especially because how many different bird Pokemon are there? Just go catch a different bird Pokemon. But you were saying earlier that they did a survey of everybody's favorite Pokemon and only 4 of them got no votes at all, which means
and they're all in this game.
Somebody
No, I don't like that.
somebody likes every single Pokemon. Like somebody considers every single Pokemon their favorite. So certain people are going to feel kind of slighted that their Pokemon is not in the game. And maybe, it depends on how much they like Pokemon. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not buying Pokemon just for my specific favorite. Like, I'm not playing the game just because my Pokemon's in there. So I'm not going to say, oh, they're not in there, well, I'm not going to play because I like a whole bunch of them. But realistically, there are a lot of people who are just, well, I only like this, a handful of Pokemon and they're not even in the game. Why am I going to play if I can't keep a team of the ones that I really like? I see the disagreement on your face.
I don't know. Part of me just wants to get over it. I mean, there's so many, and you don't.
Well, see, now I've been slighted.
You're not even giving a chance for the new ones to become your favorite.
What if the new game doesn't have Charizard in it? Because that's your favorite Pokemon.
No, it's not.
I thought it was.
No,
it's one of them.
It's one of them. I mean, I have Pikachu tattooed on my arm.
I know,
but I get crap all the time because oh, you like Pikachu? Well, he's just the mascot. He's not even a character.
What? That doesn't make sense.
Exactly, it doesn't make sense. I don't I'm not shaming people for liking the Pokemon they like or liking what they like, but listen, you can't appease.
I get your point.
I'm not going to not buy the game if
Can they update it eventually? And
I'm sure they could.
And add more Pokemon.
Yeah, because an update redoes the code in a way, doesn't it? I know that's probably not the right way to say that. But.
Well, I mean, it essentially updates it.
Yeah,
it adds more to it, so I don't see why not.
Command not found. That's why not.
All right. Enough of that. No, I really don't see why they can't add more Pokemon. Think of it as DLC.
Yeah.
That's it. They could add Pokemon as time goes on. It's just a matter of will they put the resources to it rather than how much are they planning on? Yeah, how much are they really planning on doing with this game after it's released? Are they just gonna drop it? Are they gonna fix things? Are they gonna add DLC? What are they really doing with it after the fact? Because if they start creating new models. They could be doing it for the new game, but they could also create them for the new game and put them in the old one and just include them in the new one because, as we just said, they've been doing that for generations.
Yeah. So to wrap this up, as it was one of the user questions as well from T. Elting on the YouTube community boards, he just asked kind of simply, what do you think of Pokemon Sword and Shield? Are you looking forward to the new gimmicks? Do you wish they stuck with some of the older stuff? He's kind of a fan of Gen 6, so he was curious to. I know Kevin's not a fan of the game. Can you quickly tell us why? Or just not interested?
I don't like the gimmicks of this one. If I say this wrong, correct me. Is it Gigantamaxing?
I think it's Gigamax.
Gigamax
or Gigamax.
It's definitely not Giga.
Oh, okay. I don't even remember anymore.
I don't like it. It's weird.
It feels lazy, right?
Some of the ways they look cool. But the Meowth I saw yesterday, I'm like, that is weird looking. The fat Pikachu with the weird tail. I'm like, that's not what Pikachu looks like.
For fat Pikachu forever.
Yeah, but you get the card game. There's a fat Pikachu card from back in the day. You know what I'm talking about?
No, I know exactly what you're talking
about.
Yeah,
yeah, the original Pikachu.
So, but I'm not. It's not for me. It's not for me. Mega Evolutions and what was the other thing? The Z moves. I liked those. Those were cool.
Oh, I thought the Z moves were.
Some people didn't like Z
moves. I wasn't a fan of them either.
Yeah. But I was like, I would like to see more Mega Evolutions. Those were my favorite gimmick.
Okay, because it visually they look different and it was unique.
And they gave them abilities and stuff. It was cool.
Joe,
I feel underwhelmed. I don't feel like it's a Pokemon game. Usually when the Pokemon games come out, there's a lot of excitement. It just feels like Pokemon. This doesn't. It feels like an adventure game with monsters, just from the information that I've gathered from it. So I'm losing a lot of it, but I would absolutely no doubt play a demo to at least see if I'm interested in it. I'm not writing it off by any means. It looks like it could be a lot of fun, but I want to see how it plays out first. So I liked Sun and Moon, but my problem was it was outrageously linear.
Oh yeah.
You just kind of walked forward.
Yeah.
So I would
up and
don't get me wrong, the game was outrageously polished as well. But because it was so linear, it gave them the opportunity to polish it so much. But I would definitely play a demo and see if I like it. And I think if it opens up the world a lot more than Sun and Moon did, I'd be interested in getting it. But it's not a day one purchase for me.
I have a random thought. I don't know if we ever. Do you think that Game Freak developing Sword and Shield was getting their feet wet with the tech of the Switch, and then the next Pokemon will be like a bigger shakeup? Because everybody wants like a big open.
They want Breath of the Wild
Yeah,
with Pokemon.
Yeah. Like, when that comes out, I'm getting it. If that ever comes out. If that ever
No,
comes
and
out.
that could be why they're always hesitant to jump on it right away.
Yeah.
But they've also favored their install base because I think each Pokemon hits in the tens of millions sold. So when you go to new hardware right away, I mean, 15 million, okay, that's a great start, but, you know, like in a year from now, that number could be doubled. So imagine you live in a world where 1 in 2 people that have a Switch also own Pokemon. That's pretty big. So I'm not surprised that they played it a little safe, but it could be from hey, we're still learning this. But they work so closely with Nintendo, I'm sure they would have had some insight or a leg up on that stuff early.
Yeah.
So who knows?
I mean,
I think it's a day one for me. I'm excited to, as I am with every Pokemon, buy it, get into it for a weekend, linger for a long while, get back to it, get halfway through, realize I'm underleveled, and then say, screw it.
I love how he has like that happens with all that you play.
No, all the
Sorry?
Pokemon. I beat Blue back in the day, and I beat X.
Can I talk about something weird about Blue real quick?
Quickly.
Very quick. Like I had Pokemon Blue, had like strong Pokemon, played Pokemon Stadium, and my game glitched out to where my Pokemon would keep getting more HP every time I played with them. Like it was really weird. I don't know why
sell
that
that
ever
cartridge.
happened.
It's probably worth trillions.
Yeah, honestly.
Like my Mewtwo kept getting better and better and better, and I wasn't doing anything. It was really weird.
If you had that and a PS4 with PT on it, you'd be a millionaire.
Oh, I have that.
You'd be. I don't believe you.
I do.
You don't have my.
I'll sell it to
You
you.
don't have
for
my
$1
Pokemon Blue
million.
cartridge.
I did, and I had a yellow cartridge that I gave to someone, and they never gave it back. Okay, moving on from the Pokemon, because that was a lot more in Pokemon than I was hoping to talk about. But
To be fair, it's Pokemon, so
that is true.
it just
And
doesn't
you're
end.
going to see me walk in and show you my Wooloo, and you're going to be like, damn, that's adorable. I want that Wooloo. So last bit of news, and we're going to skip this part. Yeah, we're skipping that part. Sorry, guys.
I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
Okay,
I'm cool with
perfect.
it.
So there was a job posting in Japan looking for level designers and scenario and text writers for Breath of the Wild 2, which is leading many people to speculate that due to the fact that they're posting for a job now means they haven't made any progress in this area, and that this is going to lead towards a 2021 release date.
That could also mean though that somebody who had that position left. And they
Yeah,
need to fill that
absolutely.
That's a
spot.
possibility, sure.
Honestly, I wasn't expecting a release date before 2021 anyway, because think of the scale of Breath of the Wild. Think of how long it took Breath of the Wild to come
Yeah.
out. And I don't think they're going to do that again.
Well,
I don't think they're going to keep saying, well, this game is coming and then not do it for however
they
long.
will not do that again.
No way. I mean, it worked out for Breath of the Wild in the long run
Yeah.
anyway. But think of the scale of Breath of the Wild. And I know they're reusing many, if not most, of the assets.
most of I would fathom except for the dungeons, because that seems to be a pretty strong focus. It looks like. I mean, nothing's been confirmed, but it seems like that's been.
The adding dungeons to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I
Gosh,
think
I
that's
hope
it too.
so.
Like now it's going to be a bigger scale game probably. Working on all the things that Breath of the Wild left out, like more enemies and more dungeons. But now they need to design dungeons as opposed to like the puzzles that were on a much smaller scale. Now you have an entire dungeon that needs to be designed, and there's going to be a lot of them because
Right.
it is a much larger scale game. So I wasn't expecting a release date before 2021 anyway.
I think because they're using the same engine, and I would imagine some of the same art assets.
They're probably using all of them.
Right. So like very
All of them
akin-
plus new stuff.
Yeah, and I'm sure
Yeah.
they'll polish and do a few
Yeah.
extra things. Very akin to Ocarina of Time, and then Majora's Mask,
Do we need an expansion pack?
which I hope not. But
No, we
maybe
won't,
the
we
Switch
won't.
Pro, because that also came
yeah,
out
that would
during
be our
these
expansion
things.
I
That
want
the
one.
turnaround time could be a little bit quicker because the game engine's already developed and they're just reusing some of these things. And
Mhm.
the implementation of those things is really what they're developing, not the actual assets themselves. So I would think, ideally, sooner rather than later. But I don't know. I think there are some external factors that could influence when they would like to get it out. And obviously, when they would like to get it out versus when it will get out are two very different things. I mean, they pushed back Breath of the Wild initially to
Like
coincide
4
with the
times.
Switch. Yeah. And Miyamoto-san always the one to say, a delayed game
It's eventually
is
good.
is eventually
A
it's
rush
pushed
game.
back for a reason. A rush game is forever rush.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Paraphrasing, I'm sure we butchered that collectively.
I was
but
gonna look it up. I was like,
that's
I don't know.
kind of the
You got the
gist.
gist. You got the gist.
So
A rush game is bad forever.
Yes,
I think
there
is
it
what
is.
Just
is.
do a voiceover and fix that later.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen. I think we had talked, Kevin, maybe in one of our podcasts, thinking that potentially as a holiday game for next year, that this might be a realistic possibility.
They could drop this whenever the heck they want.
They can, but here's the external factors that I think are interesting. We're expecting new hardware from Sony and Microsoft, most likely the end of next year.
Did they say that, or is that just everybody expecting?
I don't know if there's
No,
a
I think they
confirmed
said the
timeframe.
the
They said-
PS5 was going to be holiday next year.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't think Microsoft has said
Microsoft didn't say
anything, but I
anything,
think Sony has said holiday next year for the
Yeah.
PS5.
Right. And we know Nintendo's not going to drop, most likely, you never know, but there's not going to be a hardware revision of the Switch between now and then, I would think. So they need something.
Not when they just did one.
Right. They need something competitively to stay relevant in the conversation of here's Project Scarlet, here's PS5, and Nintendo's at this point now selling 4-year-old hardware?
Mm,
3-year-old hardware. Came out in 17, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
17.
So how do they stay relevant in that conversation? And
Release a Mario sequel, Breath of the Wild 2, Metroid Prime 4, blah, blah. You just drop.
Yeah, it'd be about games,
it's
not
gotta
about a new
be
console.
software, and they
Yeah.
need heavy hitters. They can't show up with, no offense, they can't show up with Kirby and say this is our big holiday game because it might do well, but people aren't going to
That's
look at it
not-
the same
yeah.
way.
Kirby's
know?
great, but that doesn't do huge anymore, I don't think, does it?
No,
No, not,
Like,
not in
it's
its
like
current
a
style.
average-
it
No,
wouldn't be surprising at all when you have new console,
New Mario
hardware
Kart.
and new software on an existing console. But how you can see the headlines write themselves in 2 new console releases and Zelda's the best-selling software title. On
Yeah,
all of them.
absolutely.
And it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
We look at that and go, that's really cool. But well, like 12 people bought a PS5. I mean, obviously more, but
Right.
like the install base is there. But that's what that's going to look like, and it allows them to stay relevant. We'll see. I don't know. That's an interesting one.
I don't think hardware-wise they can compete with Microsoft and Sony if they release at the same time. So,
No.
like you said, that they're
No.
not going to do another hardware revision.
But-
if they what they need is big IPs. They need expected IPs, things people are waiting on. So they need Metroid. They need like Mario Odyssey 2 and Zelda 2. They need stuff like that to say, like you said, well, 2 new consoles just came out, and for some reason the Switch is still the bestseller.
And I would think a price drop would help them too.
Mm.
Switch drops to $249, and
By then it would have to.
I would think so.
It would
I would
with-
think so.
They
With
only
its
do price
age-
drops, what, 2 main reasons, if I recall right. If sales slow down, and then, of course, just compete.
Well, and I think
Yeah,
it
which is what it would have to be.
Yeah.
I mean, consider consider
Configure.
what the hardware is going to be like. I mean, it's already underpowered compared to the other 2 consoles. Now you're getting consoles that are even powerful than their last generations, and you've got the Switch that was underpowered to begin with,
Yeah.
and now it's competing against something else. I mean, the PS5 specs look insane.
Right.
So
and we don't know the price point of the systems yet.
no, we don't. And Sony might turn around and do what they did when the PS3 came out and said, "Yeah, it's what $599. We know it's not a consumer priced item, but we're going to sell it to consumers anyway," which makes no sense to me. But they might turn around and do that, in which case the Switch probably isn't going to have too much of a problem.
No.
But with its current specs being that many years old and, like I said, underpowered from the start, and then now selling compared to the other systems,
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
can't hold up without a price drop
No.
and
And
some really great software.
Right. And you got to figure then that the parts for those things are going to be a lot more
Really?
accessible. I mean, it's
For a
like
Switch, you mean?
Yeah. Nintendo will not sell a hardware system at a loss, but
No.
in 3 years, 4 years, if those parts to manufacture Switches have dropped to the point where they can lower the price and still turn profit, they'll do it. They know their money's in their software. So we'll see when Zelda comes out. That would be really great. But it's a great, perfect, and totally planned segue to a little bit. We're going to shorten it a bunch. I was hoping to spend some time to talk about Link's Awakening because I know that's one of the games that we've all found time to play, and I believe
Found time. That's an understatement.
made time to play, but also found time to complete.
Yeah, which is kind of unusual for me lately, I feel like.
And I
Just
think
to complete a game.
Yeah, but it was also like the perfect game to kind of just plug like 10 hours into and kind of be done. And like I think that's
binge played on a Saturday.
and you beat it, right?
No, I'm almost done.
Okay.
But it's a relatively short
It's
game,
like-
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and Joe had said in his review,
which you should all
plug.
check out.
Yeah,
by the
no,
way.
it's a really great review, and it's
Where can they find a review,
it's
Joe?
lengthy.
on our YouTube channel.
Level 30 games.
Yeah, no, Joe knocked the review out of the park. It's one of our longer ones, but definitely worth a watch. Please check that out and support that because it's excellent, and it's obviously a game that everyone is somewhat familiar with. I know we've got some gripes and some quibbles now that we've all completed it about some things, but like overall thoughts, real quick, Joe.
I mean, if you watch my review, which I'm plugging again, you can tell that I'm biased, but I absolutely love the game. I think it's got minor issues when it comes to performance, obviously, and minor issues when it comes to quality of life things, but like nothing that breaks the game, nothing that even takes away from the fun. Just stupid little things that you kind of think, why didn't they do this?
Yeah, personally, I think the frame rate issue was totally overblown. Like, I really
Yeah.
didn't think it was an issue at all.
Because it doesn't affect gameplay, and that's the big thing. Like it doesn't affect gameplay, but this is an HD remake, and it kind of pulls away from that.
It's a
and
little
that kinda bothered
uncharacteristic
me.
of Nintendo to have some issues like that. 'Cause
Yeah.
we expect so much polish, but I think they were overblown from what people were
No, they
kind of
were.
complaining about.
Like I was nervous about it the day it launched. I was like, oh man, this is gonna be a big deal. But it's like,
No.
But no,
I don't
it
know,
doesn't
it's-
take away from the gameplay.
No, not
And
at all.
I mean, the game overall, like it plays great. The game is fantastic. There's really not a whole lot that I'd take away from it, or that I would change about it. It's just an outrageously fun game, and there's just a ton of nostalgia in it. It just my only big thing is that it doesn't have the same feel as the original Link's Awakening, which is like it's kind of like it's a cute game and it's kind of silly, but it almost feels a little darker.
I
In
think
its
it is
vibe.
darker. I still think it feels darker despite
The new one?
overworld kind of and the new look kind of looking very like.
because there's that overall theme. I'm not gonna say too much.
No,
But, like,
we're gonna
there's-
preface this by saying
Yeah.
there may be some spoilers in this part of the show. Fast forward a little bit. That like I don't know. I knew the ending of the game,
Yeah.
and I
Mhm.
still felt like that screen towards the end when they were flashing and showing all the characters just going about their business, like
I choked up a little bit.
sad.
See, I didn't
you
get
know?
there yet. Don't
Yeah.
talk too much.
I
didn't finish.
choked up a
and I
little
never
bit.
finished the original one. Like I know the ending,
Okay,
but I don't know like
and I forgot.
So sorry.
everything.
I
about
forgot
it.
how much
No,
towards
getting
like
there.
the latter portion of the game they really start to kind of tell you
Mm.
the end of the game.
I mean,
And I
the
think-
owl straight up tells you when you walk out of the one shrine. He tells you what happens, and then as the game goes on, all of the enemies, all the bosses are like,
as they
don't
die, they're
do-
like, yeah,
"Don't
and-
do this because of spoilers."
Mm.
right. And so I don't know if that was like, are they trying to instill the thought of, oh well, there's no way that's gonna happen. They kind of almost like you intentionally force yourself to not believe what they're telling you, only to then be found out that they were correct the whole time.
Yeah.
I don't know. I still think that darkness is kind of there, even though it looks like the claymation
Looks like a
Christmas
fun.
does-
movie.
It does.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, it looks like a Christmas
totally
toy.
does.
Honestly,
I like claymation. That's very
What was the one with
That's what it looks like.
the elf thing and the toys, the misfit toys? What
Rudolph,
Christmas?
the red-nosed reindeer.
Is that what it was? Yeah, it kind of looks like that.
Yeah, and-
Sorry,
I only Christmas
Gosh.
toys. Oh boy,
I watched the.
it does.
Grinch,
That's
and
kind of what was
okay,
going
but,
through my
like,
head,
what?
though.
Yes, a few little weird things. Like I think some of the one
that
of the
movie
songs
with the elves and the toys
Shut up.
and the reindeer with the red
Shut
nose.
up. God.
Thank gosh.
I think one of the songs annoyed me when you're in the animal village. That song just annoyed the crap.
Oh,
I
out of
don't
love
me.
know
the
why.
new
I
one.
like that one.
Yeah, me too.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Some of
The-
the dungeon music was like really good.
Incredible.
Like when I was finding music for the reviews, I was like, "Oh my god, these are all so good."
Yeah.
They're really well done. There's a lot of like overtones to it, and a lot of like drawn out notes that
and
really
a lot
give you the vibe of that
like,
dungeon.
Kind of pseudo 8-bit
yeah, I like
references
that.
to them
Yeah, here
too.
and there.
We know it's a little vague direction wise. Like there are a few like if I didn't know to cut a shrub, I would have been confused and lost for days.
I
But
gotta
we
say
ex-
that's an understatement.
Yeah.
A little
Um,
vague. Sometimes
didn't
they
have
just
that
straight up don't tell
album.
you.
Well, then you're the
Really?
best Zelda player in the history of Zelda.
No, I
And I'm
wouldn't say
proud
that.
of you.
But maybe I just know to look for things. Well,
Maybe.
also wait, hold on. Also, I had that long time frame on Breath of the Wild, so I just explore everything anyway. That's just
Okay,
me.
so maybe
Yeah.
That's probably
you've,
why.
like,
And that's
retaught
really what you
yourself.
have to
which
do.
could be-
You have to
okay.
just go everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then this is a really small one, even just for me, but like there's a warp point right outside of Mabe Village.
Mhm.
Put it in the freaking village. Like, why do I have to go over, lift the rock, and then go? Like,
You know, that's a gripe that I had and didn't
No, I realized every time, 'cause
formalize.
towards the end, I
like-
started the fast travel a little bit more just to save some time, and I'm like,
Yeah.
put it in the freaking village.
Yeah, it really should be. Like, I shouldn't have to lift a rock and cut down a bush just to get there.
Um,
I agree. It should be
Yeah.
in the village.
but overall, great game, definitely worthwhile. I feel like it's one of those. I haven't had a Zelda game where I can say, you know what, I'm going to replay this, mainly because Zelda games since even Ocarina, I would say, is on the shorter side, but like probably since Wind Waker, to say, all right, I can play this and beat it relatively quickly. I mean, a lot of the Zelda games after that I was doing in like 30, 35 hours. I just don't have the time to replay them as much as I'd like to.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
So
this
a game
one's
like
short.
this, yeah, I can definitely get into and replay like a year from now, just because I feel like playing
Yeah.
like an
Just
old
'cause
school
you want
Zelda
the vibe,
game.
yeah. I actually, like, even after I beat it, I went back and went back for a couple of the seashells, and I'm sure I'll go back for a couple more. But like, I wasn't like I finished the game, but I wasn't done with the game, and I
Right.
felt the need to go back and just play a little bit more
Mhm.
of it.
So I'm excited to
Who's 100%ing it?
I don't know if I'll get that far, but I
Yeah.
wouldn't mind trying.
Close.
close. Yeah, I got the sword,
Close.
and that's about it. But
My hardest thing is gonna be getting the stones,
oh, okay.
getting all that.
I'd be
But-
interested to see in a year from now if I go back to play it what I remember from this playthrough versus playing it and completing it now and having not played it since. Well, I played it on the 3DS.
That's what I did.
But I never played the
I didn't
original.
finish it.
So like I think I'll remember a little bit more, and I'll probably end up liking a little bit more because I've realized in playing this, the reason why I like Link to the Past so much is because I remember all the little nuancy secrets from when I was a kid,
Mm.
and that like heightens that enjoyment because I'm like, I still remember this, and it's been 20 some years. Real quick though, Kevin, what else are we playing right now that you can give a thumbs up recommendation to?
Castle Crashers.
Okay.
I played it for several hours. Couch co-op with a friend. Was it 2 weekends ago? No, yeah, something like that. It was cool. I downloaded Ori, but I didn't get to play it yet. And I know if people watched the last podcast, I was like flipping out for that.
Yeah,
But I just haven't had time to play it yet.
tempted to get it, even though I beat half of it on the Xbox, and
Yeah.
I would like to go back and
So
finish because it
that's-
is very good.
I'm like amped to play that soon. Maybe this weekend.
There you go, Joseph.
Most of my time's gone into Borderlands, to be honest, which is just gonna be how it's gonna be for the next couple months, I'm sure. But I put like 15 minutes into that new Kirby game and just felt like it was a mobile game that they put on my Switch, and I closed it and then totally forgot I was playing it. The next time I turned on my Switch, I went, oh yeah, this game is still open, and that's how interested I was, and that's coming from somebody who really, really loves Kirby. Otherwise, last night I actually finally bought Untitled Goose Game.
Okay.
And it's been a surprising amount of fun.
get that.
It's funny because it'll be quick and then it'll be slow. There's some pauses throughout, and there's about as much direction as there is in Link's Awakening. Like they just kind of like, oh, you have to like get the farmer to, or the whatever, the grounds worker to put his sun hat on. How am I supposed to do that?
Yeah.
To like get him to bend over and pull the hat off his head and then run away as quickly as you can. But the goose is like a car, so the faster you run, the more trouble he has turning, and he turns very
love
wide.
that.
So, but I mean, it's a cute
wow.
game. It's a cute game. It's fun to play in bursts. There's if you if you like some stealth, there's some stealth to it. But there's a lot of like waiting for a character to do something specific so that you can annoy the hell out of
Is
them.
there a dedicated
So-
honk button?
Yes, there
I
is.
thought I saw that. Okay.
Yeah,
Flaps
there-
his wings, and it doesn't do anything. It's just
He
you
does
wanna, like
nothing,
taunt
but
someone.
Yeah,
Basically.
it just makes it more fun when you like
Yeah.
honk at the little kid and with your wings up. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been fun. It is absolutely $20 worth of fun for the like 3-ish hours that I've put into it so far.
I was told that's how long it takes to beat, if not less. But maybe
Yeah,
if you know
sure.
what to do, you just do.
I mean, I might just be stupid. There's that possibility.
Or you just enjoy being a goose so much that you
There's a
never
lot of
want it to end.
I kind of just been running around in circles honking at things. Like it really is just
Worth
fun to
the
be a stupid
$20.
goose.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll wait for
totally.
a sale, but that's definitely going to be on my list. So I put some time into, and a lot of time in a very short amount of time into Dragon Quest XI. I played the demo and I talked about it briefly in a podcast, saying it was okay, and I don't know how I feel about it, but I had a sense I was going to go in to the full game, really enjoying it. And I picked it up the same day as Ni no Kuni, and I have not regretted my decision to
I bought both and haven't opened either yet.
sideline Ni no Kuni and put. I think I'm over 15 hours into Dragon Quest already, and I'm doing handheld on the couch Sunday while watching football in the background. It's just one of those things that I can kind of like tune into the story mode and go through some of the battle stuff and transportation stuff, not mindlessly, but I've really enjoyed it. It's a charming game. The music's great. The story is actually really well told. Like the production values in this game are
Really
incredible.
good.
Yeah, like it's a little boilerplate as far as stories go. But like the characters that kind of are in your party are just so over the top and awesome
Hmm.
that I really enjoyed it, and I'm hoping to play more of that this weekend.
Did you get the free download stuff? You have for Dragon Quest 11. If you go into your um eShop thing, whatever, and you find a game, there's like free downloads
I'll have to take
for
a
like
look.
costumes and music and
Oh,
stuff.
okay. I'll have to take a look. Yeah, because some of the costumes are a little weird, but they don't show on your character in game unless you have the complete outfit. So you'll
That's
still
weird.
get the perks of like rabbit ears,
Yeah,
but if you don't have the full rabbit costume, it doesn't
doesn't
show.
show.
But yeah, I fully endorse that. I didn't want to do a review just because I got into it late. In fact, our next review is hopefully right around the corner. But I also, and this will tether to, I know we've been sprinkling the viewer questions throughout, but this is going to tinker or teeter into our last designed viewer question, and that comes from Carlos H. Yeah, that was the wrong choice of words. Shut up.
Just laughing.
Carlos H asks, and this was a tough week of questions. So the ones that were asked were on topic, the things we were going to talk about anyway, and we kind of almost intentionally didn't bring this up. If you've noticed in our podcast, was not a topic in conversation. But Carlos H had asked if you're willing, and I appreciate that he's kind enough to respect if we ignore his question, but he took the time to ask it, so I wanted to address it. Please share your thoughts on the whole China Activision situation. You don't have to get on about Hong Kong, China specifically. He goes into some personal stuff that I just won't share by virtue of keeping Carlos free of anything. But he's just kind of curious our thoughts on the whole thing. And so instead, I did not want this to turn into a political kind of discussion because we can probably talk about this for an hour. And so I really wanted to make sure that I chose my words carefully and put together kind of a statement, which I feel, as someone who works in media, as someone who has worked in broadcasting, is kind of the appropriate and responsible thing to do. Ignoring news doesn't make it go away, and it's not that we are a news outlet, but it's happening in the world. So to kind of just turn an eye to it and not at least address something, I thought would be kind of irresponsible. And since it was asked, I wanted to respect Carlos's question in time. So I put together a statement that I would just kind of like to read. I'll absolve Kevin and Joe from being affiliated with this. I kind of wrote this on my own and said, hey, do you guys feel that this is okay? Don't feel like you need to be attached to it, but I just wanted to put this out there before we close the show today. And so in regards to all that, I think the thing to remember is at the heart of everything going on here, there are people who work and create things for a living. Artists and developers and creators who love what they do and may be working for a company that doesn't support their personal beliefs. And the company is within its rights to do so, just like the employees are within their rights to feel how they feel. So a big decision like that made by the head of a company or board or whatever may not reflect how some, most, or all of the employees feel. People and consumers like us vote and speak with their wallets, and the poor sales of a game does not speak to how consumers feel about how the company handled the situation. The flip side is that people, did I say that correctly?
Not sure.
The poor sales of a game does speak to how consumers feel about how the company handled the situation. The flip side is that people may lose their jobs, not for their beliefs, but because of an underperforming title. It could weaken Blizzard's relationship with Nintendo, which at the end of the day is not the worst thing in the world, and it already has. They canceled their event in New York. There's been some advertising on the eShop that's gone away. There's going to be fallout, and we just have to kind of wait and see what that looks like. I would say if you want to play Overwatch, do it. And if you want to hashtag boycott Blizzard, by all means do that too. Just don't shame people for choosing how they want to handle the situation. At the end of the day, games are meant to be fun and escape, but this is not the first instance of video games bleeding into real world situations or politics. If you guys remember the Mortal Kombat fiasco in the 90s where Super Nintendo got sweat instead of blood, Nintendo releasing essentially a giant bazooka peripheral in the Super Scope, Manhunt being a rated adults only, but they scaled it back for an M, the hot coffee GTA thing. I mean, there's been a lot. Above all, gamers are meant to be united about the things they love, and you can be vocal about how you feel and act accordingly. Just remember your stance is with a corporation, not one another. So I would say gamers like love each other in a weird sort of way. We all like the same hobby. And so I just wanted to make that statement to just kind of address, not that we're trying to be down the middle and not make a stance, but at the end of the day, we kind of play games and talk about games because we love games. And this is a layered issue that's still playing out. So we're just going to kind of see how that plays out. And that's now a somber end to the show. I'm so sorry to end it like that because we're well over our time limit here, but I want to thank everyone for watching and listening. If you have comments on what we talked about today, or if you have comments on that last comment and want to come at me, by all means, go for it. I hope that you can respect what was said, even if you disagree with it, because I want you to keep watching and enjoying our stuff. But if you decide not to, I can understand. But hey, let me know why. Let us know why. So thank you for joining us on this podcast. We have some things in the pipeline. I know Luigi's Mansion is going to get a review when that comes out. I'm sure we'll take...
Why'd you both look over at me when you said that? You both glanced at me.
Because Joe and I want Kevin to do a review.
Kevin doesn't have time. He's a level 30 gamer.
Pokemon might get reviewed depending on Joe's schedule. Possibly. He's hearing this for the first time, maybe?
Yeah, this is news to me.
Oh, okay.
We are a news outlet.
Yay! So if you like what we do,
Joe, I can't
make
review
sure
Pokemon. I'm not playing it.
if you like what we do, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, subscribe to our YouTube channel, engage with us in that community chat because we put stuff there and we love hearing from people. And that's it. That's our show. So thank you guys for taking the time out of your day to do this longer than usual podcast. And it's time.
We're a couple minutes over.
Kevin would like to continue going for another
No.
hour.
Kevin has a lab to set up.
Oh, okay. Kevin has a lab to set up, and Tom's got stuff to do. Joe
Joe's a dog.
is a dog. And on that note,
On that note,
we'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, everyone.
And
Thank you.
see you later.
bye.